Everybody, and welcome to today's video. And in today's video, I'll be doing a 2022 Senate prediction, my updated prediction. Actually, I don't know if it's updated. As of June 15th, 2021, this may be the same prediction as last time. My prediction hasn't changed a whole lot. Obviously, for the Democrat safe states, everything labeled. Illinois and Colorado could potentially be likely, but I doubt it. For the Republican safe states, Kansas could be likely. It's probably still gonna be like R plus 25. Iowa and Indiana, maybe South Carolina could all be likely. I'm going to give them all to the Republicans safe. The Democrats don't have any likely states for the Republicans. They have Florida, New Hampshire, and Alaska. In Alaska, Murkowski is not going to be able to get enough of the GOP vote. She's going to do well enough with second and third voters from the Democratic Party, from independents, maybe from libertarians. I guess with the libertarian, it really depends on the independent candidate. But if the independent is conservative enough, it may go libertarian, independent, then Murkowski. If they aren't, then she could get the second choice votes of libertarians. So she'll still probably win the seat. In Florida, it's almost certain that she will. In Florida, even with Trump campaigning, in Florida, although to be fair, Trump did carry by 10%. Now in Florida, Father not stop continuing talking about Alaska. In Florida, Rubio has, he has plenty of appeal. I don't see the Florida Democratic Party really nominating a great candidate. I think that Nikki Fried is a fairly strong candidate for the governor's election. I can see why the Democrats would want to nominate a pretty strong candidate for governor. If you want to try to take out somebody like DeSantis, because he is probably the GOP's strongest nominee. And if you're the Democratic Party, you probably don't want him, to potentially be a nominee. But, honestly, the Democrats may be looking a lot better if she had run for Senate. I don't think that Marco Rubio is as strong as Ron DeSantis. I still see him probably carrying it by 7-8%. Once again, the Democrats just don't have a whole lot of strong nominees. Val Demings is alright, not great for Florida, though. Stephanie Murphy is, alright. Either way, they don't exactly have phenomenal candidates that can actually put up much of a challenge against Rubio. New Hampshire, if Chris Sununu doesn't run, it's likely for the Democrats. But I'm assuming that Chris Sununu will run. In which case, it is likely probably R plus 7, R plus 6, maybe R plus 8. I could see a possibility where he carries it by, a safe margin, but it's unlikely. But in New Hampshire, Sununu, looking at the past, looking historically, we saw Kelly Ayotte, who was an incumbent senator, who had won by 30%. Yes, it was a red wave, but still, she won by 30%. Go on to lose to a Democratic governor who had only won by 5%. Yes, it was a red wave, but still, even if you shift it, 10% to the left, Ayotte still won by 10% more. Yet, what am I saying? 5% more, yet she lost the seat. We see governors typically do well. And when you have a governor that's winning by 30% and not 5%, the thing is, the roles in this one are almost reversed. Realistically, Hassan without Sununu probably wins by 7% instead of 30% for Ayotte, whereas Sununu is winning by 30%, not 5% for Hassan. So he is just winning by so much. He's so popular, it's highly unlikely that he doesn't carry the state if he runs. For the Democrats, lean states, they get Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, whereas the Republicans get Missouri and Ohio. So in Nevada, Catherine Cortez Masto is strong enough. We may see a Republican candidate, Laxalt might be the nominee. But either way, regardless of the GOP nominee, she's going to do better with rural voters, especially without Trump on the ballot, especially when she's not on Clinton's ballot. I don't know that. I think she actually performed did roughly as well as Clinton. But she's probably going to do better in Washoe County. Will probably carry it, narrowly, which will obviously shift its left, and I think she'll retain enough of the support in Clark County to the point where she carries it, by upwards of 3%. Arizona, the Arizona GOP really seem to like to nominate Trumpists, and with these Trumpists, they're very bad, and they're very bad in the suburbs, they are, or at least Arizona is traditionally conservative, yet mostly, or not even mostly anti-Trump. A lot of them are anti-Trump to the point where it shifts it enough to the left. Mark Kelly, I think now that he has the incumbency, will do better, especially if they nominate, or the Arizona GOP that is nominated Trumpist, someone who's like super loyal to Trump, then they are kind of shooting themselves in the foot there. In Georgia, I mean, like, Herschel Walker really isn't actually a great candidate. I see him doing meh with the black vote. And I don't see him doing amazing in the suburbs. Whereas Warnock now is the incumbency. He's going to do very well with the black, or obviously, I would assume very well. At least he's going to be pretty good with the black vote. He's going to be strong in the suburbs. He's going to do very well in Atlanta, or the Atlanta metro area. He is definitely a pretty good candidate, and will probably carry it by a lean margin. Probably something like 2 to maybe 3%. I could see it being like 1 to 1.5 though. In Pennsylvania, it really depends on the nominees here, but I'm gonna go with lean blue. Fetterman is not a phenomenal nominee. He's not an awful nominee though. He has appeal to the working class, but he doesn't have a whole lot of appeal to the black vote, which could be problematic. I think he does well enough in Philadelphia, even if we're probably gonna see decreased turnout, but I don't see a Republican nominee being able to turn out enough rural voters either, especially if it's someone like Ryan Costello, where he might do better in Philly, but he's not going to get or at least the Philly suburbs, but he's not going to get as much rural turnout, whereas Fetterman is going to do pretty well with the rural voting. He's going to do pretty in Missouri. Once again, like I said this in yesterday's video, for whatever reason, it's weird. New Hampshire, Missouri. I obviously both put going red. I would think that's not weird, like maybe New Hampshire. But I tend to, for whatever reason, predict, or at least in this scenario, for my 2022 prediction, it seems that I'm predicting Missouri to the left of where most people predict Missouri, but I'm predicting New Hampshire to the right of where most people, or at least most people I've seen, predict him. Like, I think that Missouri has the potential to be one of the most competitive races, just because, I mean, like, looking at it, Eric Greitens is a really bad nominee. He is really bad. Lucas Kunce is a very, very good nominee. We could see this be lean Democrat. It's not a crazy stretch. It's definitely a possibility. What's happening? Oh, I zoomed in on my computer. Okay, give me a second. Let me go fix it, sorry. In Missouri, once again, Kunce is just, he might be the closest the Democrats are gonna nominate, like, the closest, at least it's running to, Jason Kander. And Kander narrowly lost the race. Kunce would probably realistically have lost by 4 to 5% against Roy Blunt. That's with Trump on the ballot. With Trump off the ballot, Kunce, or, Kander may have won, and we may have seen Kunce lose by like 2, maybe 3%. That's against Roy Blunt. He's like an average candidate. Against an awful candidate like Greitens, there is definitely potential for this to go to the Democratic Party. It is not outside the realm of possibility. In Ohio, Tim Ryan is a pretty strong candidate. He has pretty strong appeal to the working class. He's going to have enough appeal to the black vote to be able to narrow it up and make it more narrow. I think that the GOP would have to nominate like an establishmentarian moderate to be able to lose it, which is almost certainly not going to happen. But Tim Ryan is strong enough to narrow it up. For the Republican singular tilt state, it is North Carolina. Democrats, it is Wisconsin. So in Wisconsin, I mean, like, Sarah Godlewski, she has enough appeal to the working class and enough appeal in the suburbs, and she's going to do pretty well at the black vote and do pretty well in Milwaukee, to the point where she'll probably win it. I don't see Johnson having a whole lot of appeal to the working class. I see him maybe turning out decent numbers of rural voters, but I see Godlewski also doing pretty well in the WOW counties. Overall, just, going to be a pretty bad showing for Johnson. Godlewski, I could see Godlewski really running it up in Milwaukee and turning out a lot of black voters that are anti-Ron Johnson. I don't necessarily know that's the most likely scenario. Those that are probably still just be tilt. Although it could move up to lean, or it could move down to toss-up. Honestly, I mean, like, this is going to be one of the more competitive races. I'm just gonna leave it at tilt. I feel like that's probably the most likely scenario. Maybe once again, maybe lean. Although I said move it down to toss up, I don't really do toss up, so I'd either just say tilt D or maybe I'll move to tilt R. But once again, highly unlikely, or not highly unlikely. I just find it unlikely that Johnson wins this race. Lean D may be more realistic than tilt R at this point. In North Carolina, it depends on the candidates. It really does. Cherry Beasley is a very good Democratic candidate. She has decent appeal to the working class, very good appeal to the suburbs, and she has good appeal to black voters, not great appeal to rural voters, though. Whereas Pat McCrory, who is likely going to be the GOP nominee, doesn't have a whole lot of appeal in the suburbs, doesn't have a terribly large amount of appeal with the working class, and obviously most Republicans don't have a whole lot of appeal to black voters, but he also doesn't. So Beasley versus McCrory, this is probably going to the Democratic Party. Beasley versus Ted Budd. It could go. There's a good chance it goes to Budd. There's a good chance. It could go to Beasley. It really does depend on the nominees. Jeff Jackson and Mark Walker, who I think at one point were like the nominees, or at least I assumed, were going to be nominees. So we really have seen a lot change. And it really does, or not a lot, I guess a lot, because we've just seen more people announce. Laura Trump isn't running. I'm not 100% certain if that was out by the last time I did my Senate prediction. She is not running. I think it was not out, but it really does depend on the nominees. So we will just have to keep our eyes out. But as of right now, I am gonna narrowly give it to the GOP. Once again, depends on the nominees. If it's Beasley versus McCrory, it's probably tilt D. If it's like Jeff Jackson versus Ted Budd, it could be like lean D or lean R. So it really does depend on nominees. I'm gonna make it tilt R though, just for this. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like below. Bye.